Hey everybody, welcome back to When Harry Met Board Games. My name is Harry and today we'll be playing through the board game Sagrada. Sagrada is a dice drafting pattern building game with some really nice artwork and graphic design. For those of you who like your games pretty, I think you can all appreciate this game. This is my dice tray here. We'll be doing lots of dice rolling during this game. All those who can appreciate the tactile experience of rolling dice will also find this game to be an enjoyable experience. So first, let's start with our setup. Each player will get one of these window frames that they're trying to fill with different colored and numbered dice. I'm going to start this game. This will be a solo playthrough. The rules in the solo version of Sagrada are a bit different than a multiplayer, a 2 or more player game of Sagrada, to make up for the fact that you don't have a human opponent. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this nice little dice bag here and I'm going to fill it with all the 90 colored dice that this game comes with. We have green dice here and we have blue dice here and we have yellow dice here. Okay, just one more. We have red dice. And of course, we have nice, lovely purple dice. And we just shuffle them in there so that they can be randomized as you draw them out throughout the game. All right. Also, a player will choose 2 of these window pattern cards, and they are double-sided and they each contain different patterns that you are trying to accomplish on your grid here in your window frame, your Sagrada, by the end of the game as you draft cards along. So this kind of gives you some direction as to where you want to go as you play more, as you become more experienced and you start to piece together the puzzle and figure out what combinations and what dice numbers are probably more probable. You'll learn how to manipulate the situation and how to decipher these as to which are more favorable than the others. So I am actually a relatively inexperienced Sagrada player. I've only played a few times. So I'm just gonna look at these and I'm gonna pick this because I think that the purple and green look very nice together. Yes, that has a lot of strategic purpose behind it. So now you take this window pattern card and you slide it here in your window frame. There's a little slot here for you to slide it in, and there you go. And now what you see on this different window pattern card is you see that on these spots I must place a die of that color, and on these spots I must play a die of that number, right? And then all the blank ones are free game. Now, some very important rules to keep in mind with Sagrada is that when you start the game, you must start placing your dice on the edges of the board. And then going forward, you need to place all subsequent dice adjacent, either orthogonally, that is vertical and horizontal, or diagonally adjacent to previously placed dice. You cannot take a dice and just randomly, plop it on any spot on the board. So you do need to be thoughtful about that. Also, you can never place 2 dice of the same number next to each other. So that is something very, very important to keep in mind. I'm not too sure. I'm wondering if the same thing applies to colors. So every other die must be adjacent. The die must match the color or value restrictions of the space. They can never be placed orthogonally adjacent to a die of the same color or the same value. So for that specific rule, then the adjacency is only orthogonal, that is vertical and horizontal. So while you can place dice adjacent diagonally to one another, you must place dice adjacent to one another, either orthogonally or diagonally, but the rule as to you cannot have them adjacent if they match in number or color only applies to the orthogonal adjacency. So if a dice is diagonally adjacent to another die, then it can match it in color and number. And I know that sounds a little confusing, and this really is a puzzly game if you are not into, puzzles and, code cracking kind of stuff, and just really trying to wrap your brain around a difficult problem and trying to solve it. This might not be the game for you. It is very heady in that sense, but it's lighthearted headiness, and that's something that I've come to appreciate about the game. So we've got our window frame all set up. Here we have our round track, which on the flip side is our score track. You do all the scoring at the end of the game, and we will be playing till 10 rounds. That's the same whether you play solo or 2 or more players. Now here we have our objective cards. These are different bonuses that we can accrue if we accomplish what the card says. So we have our gray, which are our private objective cards. In a 2 or more player game, you will draw one of these and nobody else will know what it is. In a solo game, you draw 2 of these. So these are my 2 objectives. So basically, shades of purple. So the sum values of all my purple dice will be added to my score. That is, the number of pips on each of those dice will be totaled, and they will contribute to my final or my end game score. So we have that right here. We also have shades of green, and it's the same thing as with the purple. The sum of the values of all my green dice will be totaled, and they will be added to my end game score. So those are 2 private objectives. Because I'm playing solo, there's no need to hide them. And then you will draw, in a multiplayer game, you'll typically draw 3 of these public objectives. In a solo game, again, you draw 2 of them. And these are a little bit more complicated. So first of all, you have color variety. So I'm going to score 4 points at the end of the game for each set of all the colors anywhere. There's no relevancy to where they are placed in my window frame. As long as I have 1 of each of the 5 different colors, that counts towards a set. And for each set that I can complete, that's a bonus of 4 points that I will get. Also, we have shade variety. So it's interesting from a thematic perspective, the different numbers on the pips represent a different shade within that color. So the higher numbers represent supposedly a darker shade of said color, while the lower numbers represent a lighter shade of that color. Well, for each set of all of the 6 different numbers, I will score 5 points for each of those completed sets. So those are my 4 objectives, and these will all contribute to my end game scoring. Finally, for setup, we also have these tools. Now, normally in a 2 or more player game, we draw 3 of these tools, and we use these favor tokens, which will not be used in a solo game, as a currency of sorts to pay for the use of these tools, which limits how many times we can use tools in a game. Now, in a solo game, you can draw anywhere from 1 through 5 of these tools, and that actually sets the difficulty of the solo challenge. So for a very, very hard, challenging game, you only draw 1 tool. But for an easier game, or the easiest experience, you draw 5, and you could draw anywhere in between depending on what difficulty level you want to set your game to. I am going to be playing this at the easiest level with 5 different tools. So I'm going to shuffle these up, and we're going to draw 5 different tools. And the first one I have is the lens cutter. And the way the lens cutter works is I have to place one of the dice on a round when I roll. It has to be a green colored die. So instead of using that die for myself, I would place it on this card, and after drafting, I swap the drafted die with a die from the round track. So this allows me to swap another die that I draft that round with a die from the round track, because any unused die on each round from round to round will go on the respective round numbers on the round track. And I will explain how that affects scoring in a bit. So this lets me look at one of those and swap it. So I could swap it for the exact color and number of a die that's already on the round track. So that is what the lens cutter does. I also have the Iglomeister brush. The Iglomeister brush, I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly. And it says that I can move any one die. First of all, I have to play a blue die on this one. And I can move any one die in my window, ignoring color restrictions. So again, going back to earlier when I mentioned that when you place a die adjacent to another one, it cannot match it in color or in number. This allows me to break the color rule, and I could move any dice one time when I play this into any spot on the board, and I get to ignore the color restrictions. But you must obey all other placement restrictions. So in this case, I would still have to obey the fact that it cannot match a number that it's adjacent to. I would also have to respect the fact that it has to be adjacent to something and cannot be just isolated all by itself. And by the way, these tools can only be played once during a game for each tool. All right, I'm also going to have the grinding stone, which again requires a green die to pay for it. And the way the grinding stone works, it says after drafting, I flip the die to its opposite side. So whatever number is on the exact opposite side of the die, that's the number that I would get. And it lets you know actually that the 6 flips to a 1 and the 5 to a 2 and the 4 to a 3. So it actually lets you know what are on the opposite sides of each face of the die. Also, I will have the running pliers. And for this, I will pay a red die. And after my first turn, that is immediately draft a die. You skip your next turn this round. So this is a card that will actually, or a tool that would be more favorable in a 2 or more player game, because the way it works with 2 or more players is that you draft a die and then you wait your turn before you draft a second die. But this would allow you to skip that waiting process and jump ahead of the other players and get to draw 2 cards consecutively. In a solo player game, it might not be as advantageous, but I'm still going to keep it because there is something you could do with this, which is simply just take a red die and put it on it. Because part of the tension in the solo experience is trying to keep as little dice as possible on your round track, because these dice will be summed up at the end of the game, and the sum of them is actually the score that you are trying to beat in your own little respective Sagrada. So we will be keeping this, the running pliers. And then finally, the 5th and final tool will be the flux brush. And for this, I must pay a purple die. And it tells me that after drafting, I get to re-roll the drafted die. So if I like the color of the die that I chose, but I don't like the number on it, I can choose to play this, pay a purple die, and I can re-roll that die. If it cannot be placed, return it to the draft pool. So it's kind of like a little push your luck, because the number you roll all of a sudden might have been a worse situation, because now you cannot even place it, because again, you got to follow the placement restrictions that the game sets. So those are the 5 tools that we'll be using for this game. And I think setup is pretty much done and we're ready to begin. So again, I'll give it one last little shuffle here in the dice bag. And I am going to draw 4 of these dice and we will begin round 1. So I've got a yellow there and a purple and a green and a red. Look at that. Nice diverse. So in a solo game, you are drafting 4 dice. In multiple player games, I believe you're drafting 2 per player plus 1, right? So that even the last player still has a semblance of a choice to make. But in a solo game, you're only drawing 4 dice for each round. So we will roll these dice here in the dice tray, and this is what I've got. So I've got a 6 green, a 6 red, a 5 yellow, and a 1 purple. So again, I benefit from the purples and the greens, the sum of their totals. So I am going to draft this 6 green because it is a very valuable dice, very high number, and it will score me lots of points. Now, I must put it on one of the edges of the board. Okay. So, I could either put it in any random blank spot, but instead I'm going to choose to fill one of the spots that have requirements in them, whether it be color or number. And I'm debating between one of these green spots or maybe this 6 spot right here. Now, I know I'm going to go for a lot of greens, so there's a good chance, especially if luck cooperates, that I will be able to get these other 3 spots filled. However, getting a 6 may or may not be something I could do. But you know what? I'm actually going to... I'm going to draft this red 6 first, so that I could put it on this edge right here. And now I'm going to, so on your turn, not only can you draft a die, but you could also pay for a tool. That's the option you have. Or you could do one or the other if you don't like anything you see. You're not obligated to draft dice in a solo game. You're strongly encouraged to, because again, all the dice that you don't select will be going onto the round track, and they will be added at the end of the game as your score to beat. So now I'm going to grab this 6 green, and I'm going to place it diagonally adjacent to this 6, and also meet the needs of this green spot right here. And also it gives me a little bit more space. It stretches me out so that I have more spots of contact, right? There's a lot more board that I can interact with by placing this here. Now, I wish I had a tool that costed a yellow to use, because if I did, I would consider spending this yellow, because this 5, it's a very high number. You can only draft 2 dice, by the way, even in a solo game. So this yellow dice is a really high number, and I would have loved to have gotten rid of it by just using a tool, even if the tool wasn't beneficial to me. But I'm going to have to give it up. Now, I do have a purple dice. It's low value, so I don't really mind it going on the round track. And I'm not necessarily interested. I could choose to re-roll this 5 just to make it a low number. But I'd rather save this tool, because remember, you're only allowed to use the tools once, each tool, once per game. So I'd rather not use this now and rather save it for something that might help me more in the end of the game, or towards the end of the game. So I'm going to actually just take these 2 dice, which is our total 6, and I'm going to place it on round 1. And round 1 is now finished, and the dummy player, if you will, already has 6 points to start. And now we move on to round 2. And we repeat the process again. All right, we draw 4 new dice here. Got some more red and yellows, some blues, and some green. Okay, so I will roll these dice again. Here we go. And again, am I lucky or what? Because I rolled another green 6. And this is so helpful to me, because again, I have this private objective, Shades of Green, where at the end, the sum of all my green dice will be totaled towards my score. Now, I really wish I could get to this spot right here, but that would not be following the rules of placement. So I'm going to have to put my dice somewhere here. I'm going to have to put it, I'm going to put it here again, because all 3 of these are 6s and these 2 are greens, but because they're only diagonally adjacent to one another, as opposed to orthogonally adjacent to each other, it's a legal move. So I'm able to do that. Okay, now I will, let us see. I want to get this 5 blue more than anything because it's a really high number, and they have already got a high number on their score. so I don't want to continue adding to their score. So I'm going to grab this 5 blue right here, and I'm going to place it on my window frame. And I have a spot right next to this 6 green that is requiring for me to place a 5 there. So I'm just going to take advantage of that and put this 5 here. And there's that. Now, I do have a tool here that could cost a red. But, and again, this power, I mentioned it earlier, it's helpful in a multiple player game, the running pliers. It lets you, after your first turn, immediately draft a second die. It's not helping the first player in the solo player game unless you're just using it to occupy a spot and get rid of a die, which honestly speaking for a 2 red is really not worth it. I would rather save this for a turn where I roll a really high number red. So I'm going to grab both of these dice and I'm going to put them here on round 2. And now round 2 is complete. And now we move on to round 3. Okay, here we go. We got some red, some yellow, some blue, and a purple. All right. And I rolled, and look at that, I rolled a 6 purple. I swear I am usually not this lucky. I'm going to have to play more games with the camera on because this is amazing. This is the 3rd turn in a row that I roll a 6 for one of the colors that benefit me. Remember, shades of purple allows me at the end of the game to sum up all my purple dice and score that many points. Now, I might have a problem here because I do have a purple spot here that I have to fill out, but I can't place it here because this is a 6. And there are 2 6s to which this would be orthogonally adjacent to, and that is not a legal move. The dice placement restrictions do not allow that. So instead, let me see if there's anything else here that I might enjoy, that I might capitalize from. Not really. Instead, I'm going to grab this 6 here. And again, I'm going to place it diagonally here in this blank spot because it allows me, again, to interact with a little bit more of the window frame going forward. I can access these 2 spots by doing that. Then again, if I go here, I'd be able to access these 3 spots. But no, I can't do that because this is a purple spot and I must put a purple there. So if I put a purple, well, this is actually, no, this requires a 3. That's not a legal move anyways. So I will go here. I'll put this 6 over here. And now let me see. So again, yellow is irrelevant for tools. Red is only good if I just want to get rid of it. But I do have a blue dice. And let me see. The blue tool here, the Eglomice brush, move any one of your die windows, ignoring color restrictions. But I still have to follow numbered restrictions. So nothing here really applies. So I'm not going to waste that power. I'm going to draft. Let's see. I can't place this here. That is possible. But you know what? I'm going to grab this yellow because I am trying to get the color variety. And I have no yellows. It's the one color that I'm still missing. So I'm going to grab this yellow here. And I'm going to place it right. Yeah, I'm going to place it right here. That's what I'll do. I'll place it right there. Okay, so unfortunately, I'm gonna risk it, and I'm gonna let the round track absorb these 2 dice right here, and they're pretty decent number, 2 4s. So that's a total of 8 points that will be going on round track on round number 3 in particular. All right, now we move on to round number 4. And we draw 4 more dice here. We got red, yellow, blue, and green. We roll these dice here. And all right, so for the first time, I did not roll a 6 of one of the colors that I'm trying to score at the end of the game. But I did roll a 5. I rolled a 5 green, and that's really good. So I could place this here, but I won't do that because, again, I need a green here, and that would prevent me from placing it going forward. So I think I'm just going to, place it right here next to the 6, the red 6 over here. And now I got these to choose from. And I don't want to choose the red because it's a low number, and I want that number to get to the track. And then I have 2 5s right here. I have a 5 yellow and a 5 blue. So I want to pick amongst these because I don't want those 5s to get here, right? So, you know what? I'm actually going to use this 5 blue right now to pay for this Eagle-Mice brush, which is going to allow me to move any die in my window, ignoring color restrictions. So I'm going to grab this 5 green that I just finished placing, and I'm going to place it here next to these 2 6 greens, which, because they're the same color, normally would not be legal, but I just finished breaking that rule through the use of my Eagle-Mice brush. But I still need to follow the other restrictions, and none of these that are orthogonally adjacent to it match in number, so it is a legal move. So, and I also got this very expensive high number 5 out of the way. Now I'm going to pick the 5 yellow over here, and I'm going to use it to occupy this spot here, which requires a 5 to begin with. So I'll place this 5 over here, and now only one die, the one unused die, will go onto the round track. And I think I'm starting to catch up here. All right, now we move on to round number 5. So round number 5, I already got a purple, that's great. A red, a green, and 2 greens. So 3 of these 4 are colors that are very beneficial to me. So let's see what happens. Oh, I rolled terribly low for all of these. Let's see. Okay. So I do have this power here, the grinding stone, which if I pay a green die, allows me, after I draft a die, to flip the die to its opposite side, right? So a 2 becomes a 2 can become a 5. A 5, oh no, 2 becomes a 4. 6 is to 5, 5 to 2, and 4 to 3. Okay. Ah, okay, I see. This is a little glitch here. This is a 5-sided dice, but for whatever reason, a 5-pip dice, for whatever reason, the 5th pip in the center isn't shaded in. So it's not painted. So that confused me. So the 2 does flip over to the 5. So I could do that. So I'm going to grab this. I'm going to grab this red 5. And I'm going to put it here. Well, first let me draft something. I could use more purples than greens because I do have a lot of greens. So I'm going to draft this purple. And I'm going to pay this green to flip the 2-sided, the 2-numbered purple die to the 5 side. And with that, I'm going to place it here, which requires for it to be a purple space, period. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to place this here. Actually, you know what? I'm going to place this here because if I do roll a 6 purple, I know for a fact it can't go here. And if I roll a 5 purple, I know for a fact it can't go here because the 5 is here. So I'm just going to take this 5 over here, and it gives me room for other numbered dice that I might roll. So there's that. So now I'm going to actually use this 5 here. I'm going to use this 5 here. I'm going to draft this 5. That is what I'm going to do. I'm going to draft this 5 and place it right here. Because I don't want them to get that score. And I'm not quite ready yet to use this running pliers to get rid of a red die. So now, again, for the second round in a row, the round track only gets 1 die on it. And we move on to round 6. All right. So I'm doing pretty good with my 2 private objectives. And as far as my public objectives, I think I have 2 sets of every color except for blue. As far as numbers are concerned, I'm doing pretty poorly because I have no 1s and no 2s and no 3s. I have 1 4, and then the rest are all 5s and sixes. Okay, so here we go. We are going to roll these 4 dice here. And I'm back to rolling 6s for my colors. So I got a 6 purple and a 6 green. And again, these are really hard to pass by because I know they're going to get me a lot of points. But at the same time, my sets are being hurt. So I do have an opportunity to get my first ever 3. And I don't want, you know, the round track to get these high numbers anyway. So I'm just going to grab, this 6 purple right here. And, oh, right there, 6 purple. And I'm going to, this is tough. I don't want them getting that. Let's see, after drafting, swap the drafted die with a die from the round track. Oh, okay, I could do that. I could use my green die to swap a die with a die in the round track. Is there anything there that really interests me? I think, there's a 2 red. A 2 red might be helpful to me. Gives me another set of numbers. You know what? I think I am gonna do that. I'm actually gonna draft. I'm gonna draft this yellow to get out of the way because it's really expensive, and I'm going to use this green here to swap with this number 2 colored red, right? Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna swap that. Oh no, because then that adds a lot to the score. Oof. So I grabbed that 6 purple. Yeah. Oh, this is a tough decision. I do want this 2 red though, but I'll be giving the round track that high 5 points. So basically they're getting 3 more points, but I am running out of time to fill this up with the different numbers that I need. You know what? I think I am going to so I played that. These are the 2 dice. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. It's a tough call, it's a tough decision, but I will do that. Here we go. We place this 2 right here. And yeah, there we go. So now this blue is unused, so it also goes, it's gonna go to the number 6 round track, and we're done with round number 6. Okay, so I still need some 1s and some 3s to benefit from this public objective here. All right, so we got a green, we got a purple, we got another purple, and we got a blue. All right, so I could use some blues. I could really use some blues. Okay, so I got a 6 purple again, so I'm not passing this up. This is a lot of points. I'm gonna put it right here. I needed another purple anyways. And then I have a 2 blue and a 2, okay. This is tough because I do need to get a 1 right here, and that might not happen. So I'm actually gonna grab this 1, and I need 1s anyways because it's gonna help me with my shade variety. So I'm gonna grab this 1 purple, and I'm gonna put it right here. By the way, at the end of the game, you actually lose points for having each empty spot in your window frame will actually lose you points. So you do kind of want to the best of your ability, fill every single spot here. All right, so I will add these 2 dice to the round track, and we are done with round number 7. By the way, I only have 2 tools left, so I have less options of how to get rid of cards. So here we go. All right, I got 4, and there's some yellows, some greens. So I know I have tons of greens and purples on my board. I got a good amount of reds as well. I could definitely use some more blues. I only have 1 blue, and there's no blues here in this die. All right, so we've got these here, and oof, I got 2 really high numbered yellows, which I do not want on the board. So I'm definitely gonna grab one of these yellows. I'm gonna grab one of these yellows, and I'm gonna put it in the only legal spot left for this yellow is right here. And then of all these dice, I'm gonna grab this, And I'm going to put it, I'm taking a risk because I really need a 3, but I don't want it to be a green 3 because I already have lots of greens and I at least need one more green here. So I'm putting this 3 right over here. And we are done. So 7 more points added to the round track. And now we're getting to the nitty-gritty. There's only 2 more rounds left. I only have 4 more spots left to fill, but I might not be able to fill them. All right, so we've got, all right, some blue. I really needed some blue. Let's see what we could do here. All right, perfect. Not only did I roll a blue, I rolled a number 1 blue, which I need a number 1 right here anyways. So that's going to go right here. And now, now is the challenge. The problem is, okay, so I'm going to need to grab this red 4 because I need to get a 4 right here. I have a chance at filling up my grid perfectly. So I'm going to put it right here. All right. And now we add 6 more points to the round track, and we go to the final round of the game, the final countdown. It's the final countdown. All right, so here we go. I really could use some blue. I'm really hoping that at least one of these dice here is blue. As a matter of fact, I have 4 greens, 4 purples, 4 reds, and 3 yellows. All right, I need at least one of these to be blue. All right. Actually, I also need a green here too. So let's see. Oh, 2 blues. I needed a blue. Oh, 3 blues. Oh man, I desperately need a green. And I didn't get a green, so I know for a fact that I am not gonna get a perfect grid here. That is sad news for me. So let's see what we could do. I need a blue 3 in particular. And I did not roll a blue 3. OMG. This is a terrible last turn. What I will do is I will use, luckily this is a red and it wasn't a yellow or something, because I could still use the running pliers. And basically I am done because I cannot draft any of these dice because there's nothing that I can do with them. There's no legal move that I can do. So unfortunately, I get no points this last round, and the round track gets 7 more points. So now we go to the end game scoring. So I have 2 empty spots, and I'm going to lose 3 victory points for each of those empty spots. So keep that in mind. I'm just going to slide these dice here, right? And I'm going to total up the score of the round track. So the way I'm going to do it is I'm just going to go by multiples of 5. So we have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. This is a 4. 35, 35, 40, 45, 50. This is a 1. This is a 2. 53 points was the AI's score, so to speak. Now let's see what my score is. So first of all, I get points cumulatively, the sum value of all my purples. I have 1 plus 5 is 6, plus 6 is 12, plus 6 is 18, plus 6 is 24. So I'm just going to grab one of these. I am at 24 as of right now. Then let's add my green colored dice. I have 6 plus 5 is 11, plus 6 is 17, plus 3 is 20. So that puts me at 44. Okay? Then finally, for each set of colors and each set of numbers. So with numbers, I did not, I did get one set. I have 1, 1, 1, 2, and 1, 3. Tons of 4s, tons of 5s, and tons of 6. So that will give me 5 more points, which puts me at 49. And then for the colors, I have 2 blues, 2 yellows, 2 reds, 2 greens, or 2 or more reds and greens, and 2 or more reds and purple, two or more purples. So I have at least 2 of everything, so that's 2 sets. Each set gives me 4 points, so that's 8 more points. From 49 to 8 is 57 points. However, again, I had 2 empty spots on my grid, which each of those empty spots counts for minus 3 points. So 57 minus a total of 6 equals 51 points. I lost this game by a score of 53 to 51. Wow, that was very close. And it goes to show that I am not a very highly skilled Sagrada player or highly experienced, which is why I still play solo as an easy experience. Well, this was pretty much it. This was the game, guys. I think it's a fun game, again, for people who appreciate a puzzle aspect to games, who appreciate problem-solving skills and things of that nature. I think this is a game for you. Again, it has beautiful art and graphic design, nice components, and it's pretty easy to learn and has a very highly functional and fun solo mode. So that's it for today's playthrough. Thank you for joining us here at When Harry Met Board Games. Again, I am Harry, and I'll catch you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.